Marsen's domain.
Hey everyone, Marsen here, and today I want to give my tips on doing well in Super Mario Bros. 35. I have been grinding the game quite a bit. I've been doing it a lot on stream, and I feel like I can give a good amount of tips to help out beginners and just help out people in general. So to start things off, I think a big thing that people may mess up on when they're starting out with the game is that it may feel like you really need to just rush through the levels. That is actually not what you need to do, at least at the start. At the start, I actually recommend going at a decently slow pace to try to obtain everything you can in the level. At least most things. Because one thing that I don't recommend doing is going in the pipe in 1-1. I think going in the pipe in 1-1 to get coins is not worth it because you're missing out on a lot of time that you could be gaining. So if you get 1-1 at the start, I recommend jumping on all the enemies that you can, gaining all the time that you can, collecting the 1-up that's in the invisible block in 1-1, getting the coins in the brick block, and getting the star. So in terms of gaining time, this is also something that I think can mess up players as well, because the way you want to gain time, if you're jumping on enemies, you want to try to chain it, where you don't land on the ground, because you're going to gain more and more time because it's going to combo. If you just jump on an enemy, land on the ground, jump on an enemy, land on the ground, not only is that slower, but you're actually not going to be comboing at all, so you're not going to be gaining as much time as you could be. And before I go on about gaining time, I would also like to mention that standing still for too long can put an exclamation point near your timer, and your timer is going to go down faster. So even though you want to be taking some parts slow in the beginning, you do not want to just be standing around. And one other thing you want to make sure that you're not doing is if you have a fire flower, you do not want to be using that to gain time. If you're just running through the level and you're shooting a bunch of fireballs, you're only going to be getting +1 the entire time. I think Bowser's worth a different amount of time, but for the most part, you're just going to be getting +1. So I recommend not really doing that in general, because you will get to a point where your time is going to keep depleting, and it's going to be very hard to keep up with that if you're only using the fire flower. Using a Koopa Shell to combo into other enemies is also another very good method of gaining time. And I would say the #1 way is if you know that there's a star in the level, go for it. Because you can just run through all the enemies. You're going to be sending all those enemies to your opponents. And it actually will combo for killing a certain amount of enemies in a row. So the star is very, very good. But again, when you're starting out in the beginning of the game, you want to collect coins. 1-ups give you 20 coins, and in general, you want to try to get coins. I still don't recommend going in that pipe in 1-1, but there are other areas to go to and other levels that can allow you to get coins, and depending on how far you're into the match and how much time you have, I think it's worth going for. Because a big thing that happens towards late game is there's more enemies on the screen, and you never know when you're going to end up getting hit, or if you need a star or a POW block from using the coins. So if you're in late game and your opponent has a bunch of coins, they're probably just going to beat you, especially if your timer has turned red. Because if your timer's turned red, it's going to go faster, and if you need to gain time and you have no way of getting a star and you're in 1-4, which is a Bowser level, if there's a ton of enemies on screen and you don't have a fire flower and you don't have coins to get a fire flower, a star, or a POW block, you're probably just going to lose. Because there's not much you can do. The hallway's pretty narrow, you have fire ropes going everywhere. Depending on the enemies that are getting sent to your screen, there might be almost nothing you can do. So farming coins early game will help you immensely late game. So I think that pretty much wraps up all the tips I have for this game. If you want me to make any more videos on this game, or if you have any other questions, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and want to support my content, feel free to subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.